Sustaining gains. So I want to cover here why sustaining gains is so important. Why it is so important. Important. Sustaining gains. Second, I want to cover how do you know that there is a loss? How do we know there is a loss? There is a loss. And thirdly, what is process gain? Process gain. Next, one more. Prescription for sustaining gains. Sustaining gain. These points I want to cover here in this lecture. So, sustaining gains. Of course, I told you to refer textbook Lean Manufacturing by Lonnie Wilson. So I told about previously strategies of lean manufacturing and deployment of planning and goals. Now in this chapter, I am discussing about sustaining gains. First, very important, why sustaining gains is so important? Because sustaining gain is a key issue for any business. By having so much of lean initiative, that is using all tools related to lean manufacturing, of course, there will be improvement in reduction of lead times, or improvement in productivity, or performance. So you can find lots of improvements after lean initiative. So thing is, once you have these improvements, we need to sustain it for a long duration. So that's why we can say that sustaining gain is a key business issue for any organization. So if the gains are sustained over the long period, of course, the net effort is also going to be larger. Okay, you sustain the gain for a longer period, certainly in correspondence to the gains, there are going to be net effect also in terms of profitability or improvement in performance or productivity. So there are two techniques used to sustain gains. One, maintenance. Second, standard continuous improvements. These two are the techniques used for sustaining gains. Maintenance is the ability to restore equipment. Of course, you know it, maintenance in terms of TPM or OE and all, I told you in the previous lectures. So it's very important, maintenance, the ability of the equipment to work in a good condition or original condition, so that the status quo of the machine is going to be maintained. Okay, means working without any problems. One is maintenance, the technique used to sustain gains. Second one, standardization of continuous improvements. That is the ability to get all people, machines and methods to continue to do what they're supposed to do to be effective and also be in the status quo or showing the process improvements. So it is essential that to sustain gains, there should be always standard improvements. You need to maintain the status quo. You can't go for decline in the improvement or something. Okay, it can't be any decline in the process or any improvement. So you need to maintain the improvement. So there are two techniques used to sustain gains: maintenance and the standardization. And here there are some enemies in sustaining gains. Okay, you know that there is of course, the world is dynamic, market also dynamic, technology also dynamic. Nothing is going to stop. So everything is going to change so frequently. So during maintaining or sustaining the gains, there are some constraints or obstacles, you can say it, obstacles. So they're going to stop to sustain the gains. So here there are two enemies, or sorry, three enemies they have given here. One is to survive, we must have a culture of continuous improvement. Okay, culture of continuous improvement. Culture of continuous improvement. This is very important here. Second thing, our own internal efforts. Okay, internal efforts for overall equipment effectiveness. And thirdly, issue of employee turnover. Employee turnover. Okay, these are the three enemies which stop to sustain the gains. One, of course, it is culture of continuous improvement. Normally, people tend to show so much of enthusiasm in improving the process or methods, or show something that can be improved in the beginning. But sustaining or maintaining the same zeal is not possible. Or sometimes they lose interest. So maintaining the culture of continuous improvement is one of the important aspects here for sustaining gains. Second thing, internal efforts in overall equipment efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, I think there are some books that talking about machine owning of the machine, right? Owning machine. That is, the operator should become the owner of the machine, so that he maintains well. So of course, you know that any improvement in productivity or improvement and all depends upon the maintenance program of the organization. Nothing but you can say preventive maintenance or maintenance management and all. So they should have some internal efforts to maintain OEE. Normally that won't happen because many people feel that these maintenance management and all those things are not their work. Some department has to do it. So one more enemy normally. So they feel that it's one more enemy for sustaining gains. And thirdly, employee turnover. It's the most toughest job. It's not under anybody's control because normally employees get trained and because of higher perks or good working environment, working conditions, or higher pay, or maybe some other reasons. So normally there are going to be so much of labor turnover, employee turnover. They change frequently. So if you are unable to maintain the workers for a longer time, they're going to affect the organization. They can't sustain the gains for a longer time. A trained worker is going to be there in the organization for more 20-25 years. Certainly, we can expect something out from that worker. But if you're going to change frequently, once again the new worker has to be trained, and lots of effort need to be improved, and don't know the culture of the employee, those things are there. That's why these three are called as the enemies, okay, the enemies due to the changing, rapidly changing world or changing atmosphere and all of this, they are changed because culture is not in our hand, because culture has to come by own, okay, culture, work culture, okay, work culture, it can't be trained, it has to come. And also internal efforts on their own, so putting efforts for maintenance, and also employee turnover also can't be, because of people, they change, no one can stop them when they're going for some other organization and all. So for they feel that sustaining gains is going to stop because of all these three enemies. When all three changes factors, that is internal change, external change, and employee changes act on a business, then certainly they're going to be sustaining also become difficult. That's about the first point, why it is so important to sustain gains. And secondly, how do we know there is a loss? Okay, second. How do you know there is a loss? Second point. Gain and loss. How do you know? One, of course, one technique is transparency. Transparency. If you have a transparency in the organization, you come to know. There are so many techniques are there, designers or 5S tool techniques, Hijunka boards, all are there. They are going to signal that there's something going loss. Okay, so we need to have some transparency using so many tools. Of course, Hijunka always indicate that production is ahead or behind, or it's basically going to show the schedule. So they're going to signal that whether production is going ahead or going behind the schedule. So Hijunka. So when you're going to have Hijunka in the organization, so we can identify easily that there is a loss or gain. Okay, so that is what we can say, that is a transparency. Normally, they said transparency is misunderstood. Okay, transparency is misunderstood many times. Okay, people think that if everything is transparent to the worker, so it's not good, that's what they say. Unfortunately, most of what is consistent with the original concept, be able to see what's happening in the process. Normally, people want to know what's happening in the organization. Okay, but they're trying to hide so much of things. Okay, so they're going to show only a few things and all. So normally they try to avoid. But what is the purpose of transparency then? Why you need transparency? What is the ultimate purpose of transparency? See, there is a saying here by James Baldwin. He says that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Okay, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Only when you're going to face it, you can change it. So nothing can be changed until you're going to face it. So it is necessary. That's why the ultimate purpose of transparency is that is for the corrective action or countermeasure. Okay. If you have that transparency in the organization, so you can plan. You can say it. You can say plan. You can say that is what we can plan for corrective action, or it may happen. So what precaution we are supposed to take. Second, you can also implement. Suppose if you feel that something wrong or expected, anticipated, you can correct it or implement it. And of course, you can also sometimes confirm whether it is correct or not correct. Okay, so when you're going to plan something and trying to implement, and if you can also confirm it is possible or it's going right way or wrong way. And also, you can also think that is there any additional actions or thoughts are there or to change or to act upon. Okay, so I think normally we say that there is a PDCA cycle. Okay, plan, do, check, act. Same thing here. Okay, so why do we need the transparency? Okay, that is of course it is for plan, do, check, and act. Same thing. That's what you can say. That plan a corrective action or a countermeasure, implement it, nothing but do it, and then confirm whether it's successful or not. That is check and determine if any additional thoughts are required. That is act. Okay, so PDCA cycle. Plan, do, check, act. And of course, sometimes the transparency is very important because the production losses are maybe due to some many reasons are there. For example, sometimes the production you are unable to meet demand or demand. So why? So you should also know that there may be some losses due to quality. Okay, quality losses. So unable to meet the customer requirement, you manufactured but not meeting customer requirement, then rejected. So we can say once again it's a production shortage only because whatever manufactured, you are unable to give fully number. Say the company manufactured 100 units. That was the order given by the customer. They're supposed to give by due date, and there may be some sort of quality issue may come. Say around 20% got rejected. So out of 100 components you are assured of supplying, if 20 goes wasted due to quality loss, then company could able to supply only 80. So we can say quality loss, nothing but we can say production shortage. They are unable to fulfill the customer requirement as per the due date given. And sometimes availability loss, so they don't have availability. Okay, you are unable to do it. Okay, maybe because raw material not come in, or maybe chance of machinery problems, or equipment problems, or some other reasons. So sometimes availability loss. So where demand is there, waiting and unable to produce. Sometimes cycle loss of this. Cycle loss means, for example, there are going to be so much of WIP lying in the workstation. So they're not pushing them to next stage. So the losses. So production losses or production shortage may occur due to either quality loss or availability loss, or even we can say the unable to do it. Like I said, cycle time loss due to the more WIP lying in each workstation. So that's why that transparency is required here. Okay, that's about transparency. Yeah, sorry. How do we know that there is a loss? Next, what is the process gain? Okay, what is process gain? The process gains are achieved by either reducing the variation in the product, the process, or both. Okay, so there are going to be some sort of variation in the product. Okay, maybe due to variation in product or variation in the process, or sometimes both, maybe product or process. Okay, so these process gains are achieved by reducing these. Okay, reduce the variation in product, reduce the variation process, reduce both, okay, reduce both to achieve the process gain. These variation reduction will then reduce waste and produce gains that are manifest in higher yields, shorter cycle times, greater uptime, okay, and of course nothing but you can say manufacturing gain ultimately. So by reducing the variation product, by reducing process variation and all, so you could able to reduce waste also. Of course, waste can be reduced and produce gains. Okay, that is nothing but higher yields, shorter cycle times, and greater uptime. Okay, so no machine breakdown, so availability of machines. Okay, so this all leads to manufacturing gains. To achieve these gains, we need to reduce the variation, and there is a specific approach that can be made to reduce variation. So there are something here. So these things need to be focused here for reducing the variation in process or product. One, of course, the product itself. Second, raw material. Third, equipment. And the fourth, I think, Pokayok. I'll pull for anything but. And fifth one, procedures. Okay. So we have to, in order to reduce the variation in product or a process, we have to focus on these 5 aspects. One is the product, second raw material, third equipment, and Pokayok, and the procedure adapted for process. Okay. First of all, that is very important regarding product. Simplify the product. Okay. What do you mean by simplify the product? By simplifying the product, you reduce variation easily. If the product is more complicated, you end up with so much of variations in process, or end up with so much of quality issues comes. So reduce variation, simplify the product, you can say it. Okay. So for example, they said ECU, electronic control unit, may have around, so it's going to perform say around 10-20 functions. Of course, you know it, ICU and ECU and all, so they are going to perform multiple functions. Say for example, the ECU typically has got 300 components by maybe around the size of that PCB, that is printed circuit board, 8 by 8, 8 inch by 8 inch. So maybe having 10 components. So next, see, you can remember that over the years, the same CPU has reduced to 4 by 5. When it was like 8 by 8 size, reduced to 4 by 5 or 3 by 4, something like that, and performing around 40-45 functions. Okay. Of course, meantime, they're going to have very few components. So remember here, typical ICU or ECU could able to reduce number of components from 300 to 40 to 45 components, and meantime the functionality or functions, number of functions performed by single unit of ECU or ICU from 12 to 45, 50 functions, and also size of the PCB is reduced from 8 by 8 to 4 by 4 or 4 by 5. So this is the compactness and all. Okay. So simplify the product. Reduce the variation. A simple concept. You can see that nowadays all PCBs and all are size also very less. That is, simplify the product. Second, raw material. Often the income raw materials have significant variation, and it's a problem of varying degree to everyone. Okay, you know that any defects of the end product is depends upon, well, of course, the method adapted for manufacturing and also the raw material used. Okay, if the raw material is quality one, okay, good raw material is used, and of course you end up with the end products are going to be good. So they're going to be a problem related to the raw material also. Okay, so they say that, okay, so normally in the supply chain management, so expecting that they should have some consistency of quality in supply of raw materials. So for example, they're going to have an order frequency of say 2 times in a month. Okay, every 15 days they're going to supply raw material, and they're expecting that for entire year, okay, so same amount of quality of raw material be supplied. It should not happen that only for the first quarter of 3 months they supplied good raw materials, good quality consistently, and after during second quarter they're supplying the quality as like reduced or some variations may be there. So it happen, then certainly they're going to be change in the quality aspects also in the second quarter. So it's very important reduce raw material variation means supply the good quality raw material. So that's why very important here consistency of quality in raw material also matters to reduce the or to maintain the process gain. Third, simplify the process. So I'll give an example of ECU or ICU, wherein if the increase more number of functionality, reduce number of components. So less components, less complication leads to less variation. Okay. So of course, they also nowadays they try to reduce or they are trying to focus on reducing the human effort by automating. Okay, so I think that all quality issues or precision issues, all these things are removed because of automation nowadays. So a sophisticated CNC machine is able to produce a number of times of quality compared to a human being. So they're trying to reduce the human interaction so that they're going to be, the process are going to be simplified. Okay. The third one, equipment or a process, both are used here because the equipment used for process. So the equipment or the process. Okay, next, Pocoyoke, of course I told this also long back, it is a pull through. So make sure that you will have a good pull through and certainly there won't be any loss of quality issues. And lastly, that is standardize the process. Okay, that is process procedures. So if you have standard operating procedures, then of course there won't be any much variation in the process, and certainly can improve the process gain. And you know that normally the human interference is the main cause of process variation. So reduce the human interaction at lesser amount, going for more automation, and of course that certainly reduces the process variation. Okay, that's about the process gain. The prescription for sustaining gain. Okay, so there are some 5-step prescription exist on how to sustain the gains. Okay, one of course, good work procedures. Work procedures. Second one, sound training of workers. Third one, simple visual management. And fourth one, hourly or daily process checks. And fifth one, routine audits. Routine audit by management. These are the 5 prescription steps. 5 steps for sustaining gain. Okay, all these 5 steps for sustaining gain. Okay. So first one, it is good work procedures. Okay, good work procedures. You must have good work procedure or standards, including check-off lists, startup procedures, maintenance procedures, and standard work, to name a few. In short, all the procedures necessary to run the business and do it efficiently and effectively. There is a lot of good literature available, of course, in some of the papers also. I also referred papers related to the good work procedures. Okay, so it's available. Okay, so you can read it. Okay, so here it's very important that you should have some good check-off lists, startup procedure. Okay, startup procedure, maintenance procedure, and standard work. So those need to be maintained here for the good work procedures. One very important thing is that everything should be in the written form only. Okay, written form only, because documented, what is documented. If the standard procedures are documented, so during startup or maintenance or any thing also, the workers, they follow it. So of course, so everything should be documented, and also it should be auditable. Okay, somebody can check later also. Somebody can check whether right or wrong. So they have to maintain document for good work procedures. The first step, prescription for sustaining gains. Second, that is people sound training in the work procedures. Okay, that is people in the organization should be trained properly with respect to the work procedures they are supposed to follow. And of course, this leads to a good performance also. And also, they can test the performance of an individual after sound training. Okay, so that's why they insisting that the employees need to be trained with respect to the standards and procedures they adopt during manufacturing. Maybe that is with respect to usage of technology or usage of raw materials and avoiding mistakes, reducing waste. Those things need to be trained. Okay, so they have to be trained for the standards. Second, sound training in the work procedures. And thirdly, simple visual checks. Okay, simple visual management. Okay, so I told about the transparency previously. Okay, transparency. Nothing but you can have all 5S or Izunka or Andan and all. Those things are there. So those things are going to help the organization to visualize if there is any loss and all. Okay, so you should have that simple visual management or visual checks. And one more thing, that is fourth one is routine, hourly or daily checks. Okay, so hourly daily checks. Okay, instead of keeping the things to last moment. Okay, to avoid any losses due to the process variation. So they should have some techniques of checking the quality or a process variation hourly or daily basis. So normally they are going to check weekly once, about the progress or any variation or defects or rejections over the week. Okay, they say called week production and all. So instead of it, they're going to focus on hourly or daily basis checks. Then of course they can reduce the process variation, daily or hourly checkups. So at least if not hourly, at least daily. Okay, hourly is highly impossible normally because unless it is so much important. Normally, suppose for example, if the equipment is too precious and if the sorry, if the work is too precious and requires lots of precision, accuracy and all, the things they use for the items they're going to use for airplane or defense, all those things and all. That time, of course, they can go for hourly checkups, but normally it's advisable to go for daily checkups to check the process variation. And lastly, routine management audits. Okay, of course, routine management audit it is to train the managers at the higher level and mid level, and also to see that how things are going on in the organization. They should have a routine audit by the management. Okay, so that's what they say that in the beginning only. I told that the commitment of management is very essential for implementing lean initiatives. So commitment of the management. So by having the routine audit. Okay. One thing that the management need to teach or train the workers, and also the ability of the system to policy. So the organization they want to make a quality policy, a production policy, a sales policy. Some policy they are suddenly they want to have it. So they should check the ability of policy. Okay. And lastly, about this chapter, it is after the 5-step prescriptions. So I want to summarize here. So I told that there are so much of variation process is due to that following aspects. Using the raw materials, they are supplied. Raw materials very important. Running the machines, they are supplied. Following the instructions, everything but the procedures, work procedure and all. And working in the environment they are given. Okay, all these things are most important, and they are the things they want to cause variation. Okay, that is the environment they work also matters. Everything go quality, like a good working conditions, working atmosphere in terms of ventilation, air or lighting, and the ambience of work, no noise. Okay, those are, I think, knowing it, those things are very essential for improvement of productivity. Okay, so this is also going to reduce the variation by providing all the things. Work environment is very important here. Okay, and of course, I also told about here the routine audit of the management. So it is that they have to review the standard. Okay, because a standard is going to vary from country to country or product to product, and there are some companies that won't accept the low standard components, or they want to give some tolerance of the limit. So accordingly, they have to change the manufacturing also. So they have to review the standard frequently, and of course, and also they have to compare the standards or actions to the standard. Okay. Change the standard also needs to be taken, and also they have to draw conclusions and develop corrective actions. Okay. If there is any changes to be done, or if they found that there is lots of variation as per their, start going as per the standard. Okay, so they have to take some corrective measures. Nothing but you can say in management, controlling is very essential here, planning and controlling. And the follow-up of the work was completed. Okay, follow-up was very important. So they may insist that you have to follow standard working procedures. They may provide a good working environment. So they may provide all good visual management, transparency, everything and all. But without follow-up, okay, nothing goes as per their vision or something like that. So follow-up is very important here. And ultimately, lastly, documentation, document the audit. Data for reference purpose, okay, to change, see the any changes or variation taken place in terms of profitability or gains or loss. So they have to document. Okay, so document the audit. These things are about this chapter, that is sustaining gains. So next 2 chapters I'm talking about culture and concern management, the small chapters. So next class I'm going to take the culture chapter.